Hello, ladies and gentlemen, back in business, and so it seems our SK. I've got Jnx here on the big screen, looking buff and ready to hopefully fill in the gaps. I just spoke to your teammate Treats, dude, and it seemed like it boiled down to, you know, the source of this resurgence, finding your feet again, was through not only talking with the team, but also kind of accepting that you can play your way. You seem to be having a lot of fun over there. It was fun to watch. Was it fun to play?
Oh, there's another sound here. 1 second, sorry. Okay, now it should be fine.
Let's try
sorry,
again.
you have to repeat the question
Absolutely,
for me. I couldn't
no
really
stress.
understand it.
You're listening to your Spotify playlist in the meantime. But I wanted to ask, you looked like you were having fun today. It looked like you guys were having a lot of fun over on the Rift. Could you explain a little bit as to you know, the part you played in that? You looked like you were bouncing around. We've even got some of your plays we want to see later on.
Oh yeah, so this game actually was very important for us, I think, especially for me, because last splits, like when we started having good weeks, like the last week, we always fumbled upon opponents that we should beat. And so I'm very happy that we won against them. And it showed pretty early on that we would win this game, I think. Like as soon as I got my solo kill, I knew that the game is gonna be like easy to play for me at least. So yeah, it was, since our lead was so big, we were allowing ourselves to have some fun in the game.
Good. Okay. Once the lead got big, fun was allowed. I wanted to understand, you know, where you think this playing to the level of your opponent comes from, because this is kind of commonplace across esports. There are some teams that just can't seem to bring out the A game unless you're up against the AAA team. You guys clearly, you know, have fixed that up, and as you say, an important game for you. I just wanted to ask a little bit about, you know, what was different? How did you kind of frame it in your mind? Did you kind of build yourselves up, like just reminding yourself of what you guys are capable of? How did you have that conversation in order to come in so hot today?
Not really sure, honestly. I think the biggest change that we made also regarding to like splits before that I played is just that we play what we are confident at, and we don't really play what's maybe the best on the patch or something. We just play what works the best for us. So no matter what draft the enemy team has, we're always confident in what we want to do. And so far it seems to be working pretty great.
Now, I'm a bit of a noob at League of Legends, so I was wondering if you could walk me through one of the plays from this game. You could walk us through exactly where the magic came from. I don't know if we can bring it up on the screen for the power of technology. Hopefully you can see it.
Oh yeah, so here we want to chunk out the Wukong, and then actually Jesu finds a kill on him, and then now we're calling to get Nash. I'm greeting for my Demolish proc, and then I misclick my E, like no, I actually misclicked my E, and I'm like, oh no guys, I did a mistake. And luckily enough, I got my Mega out here, which heals me, and then we were able to turn the play around. Like this basically was me saying, oh guys, sorry, I misplayed, can you help me? And then they could help me pretty well, and it ended up being really good for us. So it was like luck in the moment, I would say, but yeah.
So like an unintentional int becomes, you know, game ender. That was pretty stylish, I've got to say. Nice one.
For the enemies, they see this Gnar jumping in with this confidence. They're like, oh my god, what do we do? They don't know what they're doing. They're like choking. So yeah, I think they were just too scared to kill me there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we will talk as well about your Kia player of the game, because he's on your screens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look. There you go. Thank you, LEC. Appreciate you. Let's go. Let's go. And, well, let's go and quickly touch on your next game. You guys feeling like you can, I mean, it's a bit of a taller task up next. Do you think you can take him?
Yeah, I think Mad Lions is an opponent that we can beat easily, because I personally have a really good match into Armut, because I think his champion pool is not as big as mine. And I do have the one or maybe the other surprise ready and waiting, so we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Oh, a little tease, you minx. Okay, well, something to look forward to. Mad Lions tomorrow, going to be taking on the boys from SK. Thank you for giving us the interview, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, man. And we're heading over to Sjokz, back over in the studio.
Thank you so much. Always a lovely interview, Jnx. Really insightful as well about kind of their woes. And I don't know, maybe playoffs is even on the cards, but that will depend also on our next game and these players in that one. We have Misfits up versus XL, neck and neck in the standings right now, which is not something you would have expected if you watched the first couple of weeks of play, GB.
I mean, most certainly not. I think for the likes of you who are watching XL, you're probably expecting them to be higher up of the standings right now with the way they started the split, very reminiscent of the LPL aggression. And then on the side of Misfits, with a 0-4 scoreline. Like, how is this possible?
Misfits are looking like they're just going to be like bottom 2 for the whole split after their first 2 weeks. And I agree. I think, however, when you take a kind of grander look at all of the results that happened last week, the fact that XL dropped both games and gives us this standings, it kind of shows how close things really are.
Oh, absolutely. And I think now that we're into the second round robin, now you can't make those mistakes anymore because now your spot in playoffs, possibly at Worlds, hangs in the balance. Let's talk about XL then, who came in with the honeymoon buff, Jamada. They were so happy about everything that happened in Korea. They had a flying start. They were kind of setting us up for this happening in the middle of the season already. Do you think it's really that simple? Were they just ahead of the pack in the beginning?
I think definitely being ahead of the pack, a lot of truth there. I think when you go out to Korea and boot camp, that's naturally going to happen. But I also just feel like last week they just seemed off. I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt here. I think both games there was very strong reasons outside of their own control as to why they lost, but also some that were very much in their control, like that second game.
Yeah, I think as well that it just, like, one of the things they did incredibly well was that they were super aggressive. They kept looking for plays.
Yes.
Even in the SK game, they did that as well. But once they come to that 14-minute mark where you usually want to take charge with the second Vetheo, elevate your gold lead even further, they just slowed down the play, the tempo. They stopped making plays, and SK were the one that committed plays on them all the time. I think that really put them in an awkward spot because they were so used to them being the one pushing out the bunches, but never the one being the one receiving them.
So maybe a kind of a side effect of the fact that they were so good in the early game for the beginning of summer. They actually didn't need too much to close out their leads, even though they got pushed a couple of times. Now there's all of a sudden teams who say, no, you're not just going to run over us. Actually, you got to give us a fight. Let's talk about Misfits then as well. 5-game win streak, including wins over Mad Lions, Fnatic, G2. How are they doing it, GB?
I feel like you had, like, Mad Lions, it was an insane comeback that probably should have never happened. Fnatic, great comeback as well, but I actually think in that game they took more charge from individuals as well. That was not just Vetheo, but more teammates coming together. Mersa specifically with a lot of roams. Against G2 as well, they were still behind. G2 had soul when they lost that game. So Misfits, they're just really good at finding these team fight skirmish composition that works for them with a scaling aspect.
Yeah, and I think that is just truly when they look at their best right now. I think it's definitely very spooky, especially if you're a Misfits fan. You look at the first 15 minutes, I think by stats, they are just objectively the worst, right? Yes. There is no team that does what they do in the early game, but it's all about the late game. I think, though, there are some positive aspects to the early game for Misfits, right? Yes. I think Mersa coming out of lane a lot of the time to come and support Shlatan, especially up towards the first Rift Herald. We saw a lot of that last week, which actually gave them a little bit of credence in the early game, but I think we need to continue to see more of that if we want to see them have positive
look at these numbers.
That's what I really think is going to make this game difficult for Misfits, because if we speak stylistically as well, I think XL is a really difficult team for Misfits because of the early game aggression. And if you remember what we just said earlier as well, with them slowing down the tempo a little bit, XL, I don't think they're going to be making that mistake when Misfits gives the team so much space. And if you give XL too much space, where they get to take charge with second Rift Herald, they open up the map fully, I don't think they're going to be making the same mistake as they did against Astralis. I think that was a little bit of a draft diff as well, so hopefully XL is shaping up on that point too.
So maybe it's for the Misfit, you see it as, yes, they can go up against deficits for most teams, but here the discrepancy is just too big?
How many times can you have that clutch factor? I don't think these ways of games are reliable. They're super impressive, don't get me wrong.
But don't get lured into a false sense of security then if you're
you can only roll 20s so many times.
Yes.
Right. I think there is an element of that.
And talk about rolling 20s. Vetheo finally online, of course, the proponent of their big surge at the end of spring, Jamada. And when this guy is on fire, it's just beautiful to see, and everything seems to work for Misfits.
Yeah, I think Misfits are just very capable of playing around what he brings in the later stages in particular, obviously. But I think it's just about whenever we see Vetheo on like self-agency champions, that's when I feel like he's the most explosive. It's okay to see him on things like the Victor and such, but I feel like Misfits definitely struggle a little bit to play around him on some of those control mages at times.
When it comes to the picks and bans, we need to talk about 12-13 as well. I think Marcoon, he's a golden boy. We always talk about him for XL. Now he's not being mentioned, and I think his Volibear took a hit.
Yeah, that Volibear is definitely going to matter, but I think you just slammed that Poppy. If you slam Poppy for Marcoon, Zlatan's most played champions over the course of his entire career, Lee Sin, Graves, I think Jarvan also being one of them. His champion pool is just directly countered by this. You take into the mid lane, Lissandra being one of these champions that nullifies the pressure that Vetheo brings as well. I think Misfits, they're going to be tested a little more in this game in terms of their own champion pool and stylistic. realistic. But if you are going to pull ahead, it's going to be through those small shines of light we've seen against Fnatic. We've seen with Vetheo as well, with a diverse champion pool, not only in the Akali, the Ahri, and the AC as well. So hopefully for Misfits, they can remain vigilant, more vigilant in the early game, actually.
And I was eavesdropping a little bit, and I heard you guys say, well, it's going to be really difficult for Misfits, but maybe something that can sway you in terms of the side selection. So XL in summer of 2022, 5 games, 6 games on the blue side, 5 wins, 1 loss. 3 games on the red side, 0 wins, and they are on red here. Can you theorize a little with me, Jamada and GB, as to why they are not finding success on the red side?
It's a strange one, actually, because I don't feel like one side is actually stronger than the other in this current meta.
Maybe for them.
Maybe it's just a them thing. Being on red side here against Misfits, it's definitely kind of tough in that regard if they've got this track record. I will say that in combination with the Volibear taking a hit, who knows, maybe it's just doomed.
You're ready to just
I'm ready to throw in the towel. I'm ready to throw in the towel for XL if that's the case.
So
red side, Volibear.
Literally, Marcoon and Volibear is the only thing that can get them this win. What am I hearing?
No, that's certainly not what we're saying either. But I appreciate the little sentiment there.
I'm trying to get him in trouble.
I know. I genuinely feel like Misfits, they need to come out on blue side. You ban away the puppy or you take away the puppy for Shlatan immediately. But if one guy, you know, me and Jamada was talking about AP junglers earlier. If there was one person who probably would bring out an AP jungler, Marcoon would be the guy. Back when I was a coach, if you're back in 2019, back in the day, I competed against Marcoon, and there was one golden room against him back then. You always ban the Elise. You always ban some of the AP junglers that he was so prevalent on, and Nidalee as well, as you mentioned him. So I definitely think there's room for lots of flexibility and maybe some signs of life from the new patch that we haven't seen in some of the earlier games we had throughout the weeks.
Okay, a lot of context and I think a lot of question marks now for the likes of Misfits. I feel like we all have the feeling, okay, is this going to stop at some point? Because certainly you can't keep getting away with it. And for XL, it really is about, can you recover now and make sure that you get a comfortable placement into those playoffs?
Yeah, I think more or less for Misfits, I think this game in particular is going to be really telling for both of these teams' remaining splits, because for XL, bouncing back off of the 0-2 week after seeing the standings and how tight they are, being a team like Misfits, you could be very well contesting playoff spots for. I think they have the headstead over them from the first round robin as well. Super important to ensure that they just knock them out of contention. From that
Key matchup overall, Misfits versus XL with Dracos and Cadril.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, audience. We're getting ready for the game. Hype, hype, hype. Hype, hype, hype. This is a big game. These teams are neck and neck in the standings. Misfits have been on the rise. XL lost to 2 bottom teams last week. So it's all about setting expectations. Misfits, can they keep the streak going? XL, can they find their footing once again? Now, if you look back to week 3, coming into week 4, a lot of people were talking about Mikyx and Patrick as the best duo bot lane in the league, fighting up against players like Comp, fighting up against things like Upset and Hylissang. And now, after last week, it feels like it fell apart a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You called this, I think, I can't remember the exact words you used, like counter pick syndrome, like the Jnx. Like sometimes you just need to pick Nautilus, and it's like not sexy, it's not fun, but it like does its job. And maybe we need to see that, because the Jnx just didn't work.
No, it didn't. I mean, the Jnx and Renata had good theory behind it, but in practicality and on stage, it just didn't look like. I think Mickey went like 0-5 or 0-6, but it looks like with the music and the lights, we're ready to get into draft. Okay, so Misfits on the blue side, XL on the red. XL yet to win a game on red side yet. Sjokz said it on the desk, 0-3 on red side. All of their wins, 5 out of 6, I believe, come from blue.
Yep.
Are they going to ban away things like the Poppy? I wonder if that's something Misfits has been practicing. Larssen, of course, Shlatan's favorite champion, always banned against him. And will Misfits on the counter side give XL Poppy, right? We've been talking so much about Poppy today. We haven't seen it once yet. It's been banned away. Things like Sylas come to mind, Zeri. XL have a lot of bans here they need to throw out. 3 or 4 that I think Misfits will look to counterpick. Nar, Sylas, Poppy, Zeri, all of them open.
Have to see what the priority and the focus is going to be. I imagine we'll see a lot more top tier picks in this draft. Maybe a lot less focus on comfort, instead focusing on the best champions available. Lissandra also taken off the board, makes a lot of sense. Duke Duck, very good player when it comes to playing that roaming strategy, setting those lanes. And similarly, Marcoon's champion pool, very easily supported by things like the Lissandra, things like the Viego, anything else like that. Volibear took a hit, the Des talked about it, so I doubt we will see it banned. We'll see if Marcoon would be willing to play it, but again, pretty much gutted.
That Lissandra ban makes me think of Ahri especially with the Poppy ban as well. Vetheo has 2 games on Ahri, won both, has a KDA of 18.5. Is that a first pick? Vetheo just like looks at the ceiling crying as if is he thankful that Yumi's banned now? He's laughing. Sylas is up as well, so that's kind of like a must first pick at this point, because if Gnar and Sylas are up, it's always in your best interest to pick Sylas, because then Sylas will get Gnar ult anyway, right? So it's always a better trade-off for you. Poppy's down. Looks like, I would be surprised if XL don't just pick up Gnar anyway, but it looks like GP is going to get instantly locked in for Finn.
GP, great champion, does so much, but not nearly as reliably as the Gnar does. We'll have to see how Finn can pilot it. Obviously, the global ultimate does feel really good. Feels even better in the hands of Sylas, as is very often the case with these ultimates. That said, love anytime Misfits have a aggressive, skirmish kind of focused mid laner to come in for Vetheo, allowing him to impact the game as early as possible. Generally feels like a good look for them. But with Wukong picked up, we're going to have to see what Misfits want to opt for when it comes to jungle pool and prio.
Okay,
but Gwen locked in. Rumors that this has been monstering scrims, even if her solo queue win rate did drop a bit.
I would love to see a Taliyah here or something for Nukeduck, something that can roam around. Lissandra's banned, and when you're up against Sylas, things like Ahri really struggle. TF would suck. These are the champions that Nukeduck's been playing throughout the whole split. A kind of supportive mid would work pretty well as well, but Taliyah makes so much sense when you have Wukong on your team. They have a Sylas, couple dashes, you want to move around the map, roam around, instantly going to get locked in. Now, for a bot lane, I'm thinking an Ezreal would be good for Misfits, or something with mobility, a Xayah as well, but for XL, something like a Philios that can follow up with Engage would work fantastic.
Definitely would. See what the options are going to be. For now, they're banning away the Jinx, these reset champions. When you have Sylas with the potential for so much upfront damage alongside the Gwen, you really have to respect the Viego with resets too. Don't want to give too much of that synergy away. Taking their time now, though. And again, mobile AD carries are the name of the game. You highlighted it already, but GP's ultimate and GP in general is just at his most powerful when he's against immobile backline threats.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think some kind of Ezreal ban here for XL would do really well. The only trouble you have is support matchup is most important, right? Renata's up, Nautilus would work well, but then again, picking Nautilus as XL into Sylas, not great. He'll get a free ultimate. There's the Ezreal ban. Anything that's mobile and can escape this Wukong and GP needs to be taken away.
And the question is Renata still powerful enough that you just pick her here? Because I would argue, yes, there's 3 champions who want to go forward, 3 melees who would be vulnerable to that ultimate, but Excel, last week, they really love their counter picks. Do they have another one prepped? Because you feel like Misfits, pretty easy choice for them to lock that in as well.
Is Sivir going to be high prio with all these AD bans? I wonder if it's something that XL are thinking about when you have so much run at them, kind of comp and move speed. Otherwise, they could just default to something a lot more simpler. Twitch, again, is something that's been rising in prio. Renata is extremely powerful, and it's just going to be XL's pick of the litter. I mean, you could pick AD here and counter support, but it looks like they think Renata's the best. If Misfits take Renata, picking Nautilus is hard because Sylas gets Nautilus ult.
And I think regardless, even if Misfits have something special up their sleeve for the lane matchup, Renata's just so good against Misfits' so far triple melee composition.
Yeah.
Champions who want to get into your backline, champions who have to get into your backline. So something we will have to track as we go later, because Misfits are going to have to pick their bot lane now.
Xayah Naut would just be the fallback here for Misfits with this many bans. There's the Nautilus. Xayah has to be the default you have to expect. I mean, what else could you really pick here? Jhin doesn't suit very well. Samira could work, but I don't know if we've seen Neon play Samira once yet, so Xayah would be comfort. And this is the fun part of bot matchups. When so many AD carries are banned, you get to see champs that you don't see often, right?
No.
We'll see what XL pick up on 5 here, because if that does get taken away here, the Xayah, they don't have many champs left. Xayah actually going to be here for Neon.
A champion who obviously peels for herself pretty well, can avoid the Renata ultimate, can avoid the Wukong knockup, at least the first one, as well as get away from the Taliyah. So safe pick overall, can be very high impact, but it's sort of a champion that just feels like Neon expects to be left on his lonesome in some of these fights.
Is Draven a pick here? We've seen a lot of Draven around the world these days, but there's so many options for both sides. Samira wouldn't make much sense because you have a range support. Something with Engage works a lot better, but he's going to go for it anyway. Samira for Patrick. They have not got something like a Nautilus or an Alistar or Leona that Samira can dash in with, but I suppose the Wukong will be her tag team buddy when it comes to team fights. And we talked about GP ult and Wukong, now you've got a Samira spinning on top of you as well.
Yep, and obviously her ability to use Blade Whirl to stop the feathers from being pulled back, to stop the Nautilus ultimate, limits so much of the 2v2 kill potential post level 6.
Did you ever play Beyblades as a kid?
Yes.
You know, you go, let it rip!
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what Mark Kuhn and Patrick want to do, just both spin on the back line.
We're just paying Beyblades. Vetheo may also play Beyblades, depending on how this game goes.
3 in the arena in a dragon pit, which one comes out first?
Find out. I don't know enough about Beyblades to make references, so I'll trust you to guide us there.
Yeah, no, just be as a kid, you just want to fight all the time. But anyway, looking at both comps, XL, a lot of team fights. Taliyah can move the side lanes quite easily if she gets the push. Misfits, 4 melee champs, a lot of heavy skirmishing. And Sylas taking away whichever ult he wants. GP ult would be ideal. Wukong could work. Renata's also could work. But again, team fight. Sylas will probably be matching the side lanes most of the time if the Gwen's behind, vice versa. Double AP solo laners up against his GP. A lot of team fight.
Certainly. Terrifying top side on the side of Misfits Gaming. If they can find a lead in the early game, maybe they can take over. But Excel as a whole, you know what Samira does. You saw it in the hands of Mad Lions last week, how impactful, how powerful it can be. See if Mickey and Patrick can live up to some of the expectations that have been placed upon them as one of the stronger bot lanes in our league, or if they're going to get taken down by Neon and Mersa on the opposite side. Big game. Two teams tied in the standings. We'll see who comes out on top, Misfits or Excel.
A little bit of a cheeky level 1 here from Misfits. Mersa is going to hug the wall here and dodge tower. Now he's going to walk up to look for a hook here on Marcoon, who might have to flash.
Marcoon.
Or take the W.
S-Juke. Nope. Forced to take W early.
And that, kids, is why you don't take a spell level 1 out of base. Make sure you save it as long as possible until you need to use the spell before your buff spawns, and that just saves him a flash. Of course, his clear is going to suck now. QE are very good. E level 1, QE level 2. So his clear will be a bit slower, but got to save that summoner.
And this is big. Now, of course, Nukeduck can give a pretty decent leash if he does opt to start Q, the threaded volley here. But it essentially forces Patrick and Mickey X to give a leash, because otherwise it'll take Marcoon a literal year to kill this blue buff, which does mean that if the Xayah and Nautilus on the opposite side want to try to take control of the lane early, they could. Instead, it looks like they're just going to look to give a leash of their own. This will be spotted out by the ward on the red buff, courtesy of Excel. So both sides doing their best to track some of this early jungle pathing.
Are indeed both pathing top. Gwen with Ignite, doesn't have the ghost, has kill pressure. Vetheo is going to miss the chain, but does get a pretty good trade onto Nukeduck, who will try to trade it back. Of course, Taliyah level 1, one of the weaker level 1s in the game. Her Q does feel satisfying level 1 to hit, but it doesn't do that much damage. You really need level 9 on Taliyah to maximize the damage output. 5 points in Q is when Taliyah really comes online, almost like a scaling-esque champ, but her kit allows her to roam.
And deceptively large amount of sustained damage. Maybe doesn't have the burst outside of landing the combo into the rocks that a lot of other mid laners do, but her cooldowns are so low on Q as you get later into the game that she can just continuously fire rocks into that front line or back line, really limit your ability to do much of anything. Been in relevant trading on the top side. Gwen received a lot of changes this patch, in theory aimed at kind of limiting some of her pro presence. She's still here. We'll see how she does, but one of the bigger things to keep track of is that the miss now 4 seconds instead of 5. And of course that it gets reset when she leaps outside of it. So up to about 8 seconds in ideal circumstances. And these are the kind of things that we'll keep track of, because often little number adjustments, and there have been many, can really take a champion down.
Yeah, you might be wondering why Gwen just did 900 damage to a creep. When the minion is below 20% health, it takes 1,000 bonus damage, so it helps her clear out the wave a bit quicker. So you might see some ridiculous numbers when she kills creeps on low HP with her Q. Her Q got a little bit of buff onto the damage, base damage and things like this, but the true damage in the main part is reduced by 25%. So a lot of trading on top. Finn wants to make sure he can control this lane. Already used all of his corrupting pots, and irrelevant with that door and shield. Just trying to tank the most of it.
Definitely the case. Very early roam coming out from Mickey, as it looks like the early push was very much in their favor. Mickey just staying around, maybe hoping the Veteo's going to get aggressive here, seeing that Nukeduck is relatively low on mana. Both sides simply going to back away. Scuttle Crab's just about to spawn, will spawn now, and both junglers on the top side of the map. Would be difficult here for Marcoon, though, as he may win out on the 1v1, but a Sylas could roam to help. Instead, just gonna kill it really
Just gonna yoink it and W back over the wall and go to Krug. So now it's Shlatan to just base and run to bot crab, but I think XL's bot lane are taking bot crab. You see them on the minimap, Patrick just dashed onto it. So they're gonna take the crab and then go back to their lane. Patrick, a little bit of an accident there, but he's gonna get it. 77 gold, catch the wave, give up push, but you don't really need push when your jungler's on the other side of the map. There's not much to achieve, and Finn gonna crash this massive wave, which irrelevant could be diveable, yes. Marcoon probably could have been here to dive, yes, but with the information he had, Shlatan was around, so it's a bit risky.
Mersa back. Bit of trading back and forth here. Of course, trading into the wave does make it a little bit difficult for the side of Excel, as that minions will start to focus fire, and We mentioned those changes earlier to Gwen. It's going to feel pretty good to be able to execute those minions on the top side for Irrelevant. Make sure Mickey can catch up. Mickey potentially overstaying, just trying to cancel the back. A nice flash to the side. Exhaust now coming out. Mersa, Ignite now ticking down. Mickey stepping away. Chaining himself. If they try to find the kill here, he's going to get a bit more time. Can they finish Mersa? They do. Mickey's still standing. It's clean. The dash from Patrick. He's got enough movement speed to escape, but it's still just going to be the 1-for-1.
Great 1-for-1 trade there in the 2v3. Perhaps if Shlatan wasn't there, the bot lane of XL could turn, but Patrick just going to instantly dash away. Great hook by Mersa, punishing Mickey, who thought, I think, the Misfits bot lane base. Maybe we can push out here. As trading comes in top. Relevant has Ignite here.
The Ignite, where's it going to go? Stepping forward.
What is
Finn?
Finn?
Finn? Burning? Ticking? What? What?
He walked back there for a second. I think he wants to auto-attack Q, but it looked like instead of right-clicking a champ, he right-clicked behind Irrelevant, so he just ran into him. Mersa's around here for a dive. Crucial here, Finn has no TP. That wave is going to stack up and be pretty big, and he needs to
Mickey
catch
on the
it.
way. They do spot Mersa.
Mersa got spotted.
Finn,
Mickey's on
that's
the
your
way.
cue to back up.
They need cover here. I think Marcoon's going to have to sprint up, or Nukeduck's going to have to lean, but I think Misfits want to force this. They don't have Ignite on Mersa or Irrelevant, so I'm not sure if they have the damage. When they see Mickey, they might call this play off, but it's really good pressure here from Misfits.
Mickey's trying to wait in the darkness.
Does Irrelevant get 6?
Hoping that they get over-aggressive on the dive, but wave coming in now. Mickey backing away there. Will clear out now the control ward from the opposite side as Marcoon. Moving in, as you predicted, Cadril. Maybe looking to shut off Mersa here, but instead both sides just backing away.
Did XL know that Mersa was there? They saw him for a glimpse, but there wasn't any
He dropped the
pings.
control ward. They saw the control ward.
Okay, but now he's going to go mid, so they didn't expect this one. Hook.
Walking away. He's in a lot of trouble now. Knockback onto Vetheo is big with the chains connect this time. Flash in, finishing the kill. A thumbs up from Vetheo.
Bit of a disrespectful flash there by Nukeduck. He could have flashed the chains and just lived straight up, but Misfits get the kill. Great presence of mind there by Mersa. Hex flash over, lands a great hook, and he's been hovering on this top side. Looked for Finn earlier on, but they get his kill onto mid anyway. Irrelevant will hit level 6 on that cannon minion, so Finn's a bit afraid. Shlatan is behind him. No flash on Finn. Does the wave spot Shlatan? No, yes it does, just briefly. And I think Shlatan's aware.
And this is big for the side of Misfits because, again, we look at Misfits late game team fighting, it's great. You look at Misfits early game, that's what you're going to see at the bottom of your screen. It's abysmal. So often they find themselves incredibly far behind. Things do not work well for this team in the early game. More often than not, it's mid game, late game, the coordination, the execution is 5 where it really comes together for them. But in this early game, already finding themselves these leads, already finding a kill on Vetheo, and it's going very well thus far.
Definitely is. So, XL managed to get a couple subs out bot and Marcoon's base, and now Nukeduck in trouble again.
Shlatan on the way in. There's just nothing you could do. The knockback, a nice sidestep as he pulls away. Shlatan. No ultimate for Shlatan means Nukeduck gets to walk away, but such a close exchange.
Perhaps if he buffered his auto there after the W, then Q auto to proc the passive twice, he could have got the kill. No flash there by Shlatan, my mistake, but anyway, managed to gap close. Nukeduck knockback was enough to dissuade that auto attack reset from Shlatan to get the kill, and Nukeduck with the tier 2 boost should just run straight back to lane. Spin's gone for swiftness boots as well, so everyone going early boots here to get back to lane faster, keep up map presence, and Vetheo has TP up still. Nukeduck, Marcoon still not level 6, needs to look for plays in the side lane. When you're playing the Taliyah, you need to team up with your jungler and your mids and just try to look for plays over sides. Marcoon will find Vetheo, just make sure his bot lane's safe, and Vetheo looking for those roams with the lead that he has.
Yep, does not opt to hijack Marcoon's ultimate. Instead, just returning to mid lane, can of course take the Taliyah wall and use it to roam more effectively.
Yep. Similar to the TF matchup, right? You just take the global and you use it yourself. So we'll see when Vetheo takes it. The problem with those things is when you take it, right? It lasts a certain amount of time. You don't want to just take it and then never use it. So Nukeduck will make sure his team is aware when he has that ultimate, and Vetheo will try to take it at the right moment to follow Nukeduck through the ultimate. And XL now going to get themselves a dragon. Shlatan in base isn't going to be able to respond with a herald.
Well played, well played. No response play on the opposite side. As you highlighted, Cadril, means that is just a free dragon over the side of XL, really giving up nothing for it in exchange. Keep our eye on where Shlatan wants to go next. Maybe try to make a delayed play onto the Herald on the opposite side, instead invading topside jungle.
Smart play there by Shlatan if he goes for the red, but there is a ward in that pit. Not sure who placed it earlier on, but Shlatan is aware that it's warded. Now the question is, does Marcoon and Nukeduck collapse in time? It looks like Marcoon is on his wolves, so they're going to give this Herald up, and Marcoon's going to look for a full clear. So early Herald better than an early Dragon. We'll see how Shlatan uses it. Has a lot of lanes to give it to. Sylas having gold, Xayah, Gwen, all of these triple threats are always happy to get more gold, so it won't be too hard for him to find a lane.
And very big that they're able to take the Herald in the extended trade early on. Looked like it's purely positive for itself. Misfits with the confidence. Go for the Herald in that context. Our eyes on these teams as we go later and later in the game. I like the early itemization coming up from Shlatan. Just very early healing reduction, very big against Patrick. We know basically once you get Immortal Shield Bow, Samira is online and she can start to take over these fights.
So SOFM did this, I believe, as well on champions like Vi. Viego does it as well. It's just a Gangplank Chainsword rush first item because of the efficiency of the item. Not so much the healing reduction. There is some to reduce, but the efficiency and the stats that it gives you for the cost is just so worthwhile that a lot of junglers have just been first iteming this. We'll see if that's what Shlatan goes towards. Of course, could build something like the Sunderer out of it or build towards the Shield Bow. But yeah.
And I think it's such a good call out too, especially with the changes to Sunderer coming in, not quite as much max health procs damage, obviously a little bit more in terms of base AD. So seeing the shift in itemization is always something that's interesting to track. That's Mickey keeping pressure on bot side. Irrelevant still using that ultimate to try to lay down a little bit of damage. Finn forced an early flash out.
Good all in there by Irrelevant. Finn opting for the early Swiftness boots gives him less trading potential, but more mobility potential, right? So he can run out of these situations a lot happier. But of course, we'll have to burn the flash there. Patrick and Mickey putting a bit of pressure down here in bot. Only a small CS lead, but got themselves a plate, keeping up the push, managed to secure a dragon for their jungler, who Markoon hasn't found too much yet. I think the Wukong is very happy to just farm up, but now he's hovering around mid. Mersa knows he's there.
Waiting,
So
taking
Vetheo.
his time. Mersa looks like he's just going to back away. Markoon not going to overstay his welcome there on the trade, and Excel. A lot of presence here on the bottom side of the map, of course, with the GP on the top side, who can at any moment use the ultimate to help out. Makes a lot of sense.
Global pressure always hurts. Relevant will catch his wave. Finn's going to go to base. So what are we looking out for here? As I say that, Shlatan did pick up that Gangplank Chainswords, first item. Yeah, maybe with the Sunder nerfs and the efficiency of the item, that's just the new flavor of the month for these junglers, like Viego, like Vi, and things like this. Has the Herald still. Where's he going to place it? I think he's looking mid most of the time. Nukeduck is a pretty easy target if they can land the CC. The second it lands, they should have enough to chain and get the kill and chase through. Sylas mobile, Viego with the ult. But Markoon knows it, and he's been covering it for the last couple of minutes. Mickey's been hovering around, so has Mersa. 3v3 is here. Nukeduck shoots all his
trying
spells.
to clear the way. Flash out immediately. Good reaction time there not to get caught by the hook.
Now Nukeduck has no summoner, so the next time they come around towards mid, he's going to be extremely vulnerable. Stopwatch will tick over soon, but it's going to be a 3v3 contest. XL trying to stop any Herald placement, save Nukeduck, but Shlatan now runs top. He's looking for Finn.
Done. Going to come in here. Finn immediately cleanses it, tries to trade a little bit back. Shlatan fully committing to this play, just zoning Finn away.
Has to be careful for Nukeduck's ult though. He can cast it straight up towards top, and Shlatan would probably have to flash away, but not confident enough just yet as XL collapse. Mersa is going to make a pick here.
Mickey holding on. Hostile takeover can come out from Vetheo. Maybe just look to use it now. Locking up Mickey. They're going to start to hit their own allies here. Splitting apart though. Mersa's going to be the one in trouble. Mersa taken down before the fight even kicks off. That's the cannon barrage laid down. Vetheo does not have any other ults to steal right now. No cooldown available on the hijack. Excel finding the kill.
Yeah, so much zone control from XL. Vetheo could not even step past the Tribush to try to collapse onto Mickey, who was knocked up because there was a hostile takeover, the Taliyah E, the GP ult. There was so much damage that he was taking that he had to avoid, so he couldn't really commit with Misfits there. Managed to use his own hostile takeover, but didn't net too much when it's things like the Renata using the auto attacks this early on in the game. And Patrick and Neon very happy farming up. Patrick has the push for now because he has the mythic advantage, but Finn's still under pressure in this top matchup.
Yeah, and also just having that early sustain just makes such a difference when it comes to trading in the lane. Very hard for Neon to take positive trades. All-ins, of course, as well, with Patrick having the exhaust, can be very difficult to deal with.
So let's look at this again, because it's Misfits with the initial pick, but let's just keep our eyes on Vetheo and look how much zone control XL have. So hostile takeover is going to come out from Mickey. Vetheo can't step up. The Taliyah is there as well. The knockback, so if he dashes forwards, he'd get stunned. So now that he's dodged the hostile takeover or got hit by the last chain of it, there's a GP ult on his head, and Mersa's already dead. So there was no real angle for him to help his team, and XL come out on top.
Well, highlighted observers. I hate to take that moment away from our dear audience. So now let's see where Misfits want to go. Gold. Just about dead even. Of course, you can see the differences, though, in some of the individual laning matchups. The Viego pulling ahead on the opposite side for Excel. It's Patrick who has the lead, who has the advantage here thus far.
Uh-oh, Finn, no flash.
Walking away, taking his time to try to escape for this one. It's a very slow fight. Irrelevant keeping this one going. Another 1 second on the cast time. Finn still standing. Irrelevant.
Oh,
Finn, maybe get the Q. He has swiftest Q. Oh, 1 shot, 1 kill.
Oh. Irrelevant going a little bit too deep there. Of course, the R needlework doesn't need you to auto-attack to proc the next stasis of the R1, R2, R3. You can just recast it after 1 second. So Irrelevant thought he could chase without even getting the auto-attacks in, but Finn manages to run under this tower, and because he has the swiftness boots to play to steel caps, he has more movement speed, so he could catch up, get the Q. Vetheo maybe looking to find Finn on the recall, but I think he's going to be way too far away at this point. So Dragon over to XL. top solo kill as well, winning out on both sides of the map right now. And Misfits only 200 gold behind for now, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
And let's take a look at how that gold is divided here. It's always something interesting to track to see where it is, because gold leads can be deceptive. Oftentimes it's on that single member. It's really about Patrick, Vetheo, Shlatan, Nukeduck on the top side, but keeping my eyes on Vetheo and Shlatan, especially that mid-jungle duo from the side of Misfits, to try to find more of these avenues. As you take a look at the total gold protected by Santander, just to see what the options are. But for now, it's the enemy mid-jungle that are making something happen. The knock up, the chain CC. Vetheo, where are you going to go? A stolen Wukong ultimate, zooming out to safety. Beyblades, well, Marcoon lets it rip.
Easy kill there for XL. Vetheo face checks into the bush, was completely unaware where the mid-jungle was, just wanted to push out top and move towards mid, and great pick there by XL. Now Neon might have to be careful.
Sidestep. Ooh, what? Handshake pulls him back.
Spider-Man on Renata there. Incredibly long range on that. And now Marcoon gonna start up the Herald. Shlatan sees it. Vetheo does have TP in 5 seconds. It will be on Unleashed Teleport, but he's looking for Nukeduck actually.
Level 11. He has a stopwatch as well. This is gonna be a very difficult call for Shlatan. If he sticks around for too long, he is just going to die. Nukeduck just throwing down TP. Stones, chipping away slowly but surely. Very hard for them to get anything here. Marcoon still has the clone. Vetheo committing to this. Burning the TP in this exchange. Will not connect on anything, however. And meanwhile, Patrick off to the side. Keep your eyes. S rank. Wait for it to come through. The knockup coming out. He hasn't blocked anything yet. Mickey now going to be in trouble. The Berserker coming in. Neon getting snipped down. Mickey will fall before the fight even starts. That's big for Misfits.
A lot invested here by Misfits. They get themselves a kill. Do they get the Herald, though? Maybe they want to go for the mid-tier 1, because right now Finn's just plummeting down this bot tower. It will be a pretty easy pickup for them for first tower. And Marcoon is forced away by Vetheo. Nukeduck's going to base. Looks like XL are giving up this top side of the map because Irrelevant base and goes bot. Patrick.
Forward, Patrick.
Aggressive onto Neon, but there's the first tower for Finn. 1.2k gold lead to him with that solo kill with a couple plates and the first tower. So net gold lead for now for XL. Do they want to fight this Herald? Shlatan no smite. I think that's why Misfits are so hesitant.
Patrick stepping in. Again, just getting a little bit of extra rank there. Getting closer and closer to that ultimate
No
being
one has
available.
spite.
Who's going to get it? Nobody. This is an absolute fist fight.
fight.
Oh, Samira gets it. Here comes the wall, though. Shlatan on the wrong side of that. Nope, he makes it out. He will walk away, but ultimately Excel, they are getting everything. We were within touching distance moments ago, but it's 2 dragons. There's a Herald on the opposite side. Finn's taking towers. Now they're going mid as well.
They could just drop this mid here and try to pressure down this tower when they see Gwen and Sylas on the side lanes with no TP. Finn's gonna collapse towards mid here. Looks like they're gonna go for some camps for now. Wait for the wave to crash, and I think they should just be able to pick that tier 1 up, so it should be 2 towers in their favor. We'll see if Misfits just put up some kind of defense here.
Nope. Only Mersa in the area for now. Looks like they're gonna be a little bit late to stop the Herald, at least from charging, but maybe they can keep the tower alive.
Yeah, tower should live here. I don't think XL have the
gets
damage.
knocked down.
They have the spike.
Oh, close, but the Herald will connect. The tower remains standing, however, so enough resources committed to make sure they keep their tier 1 mid alive.
Extremely close. Both mid towers very low, and now it's the 1-3-1 for both teams. We're going to see the Gwen and GP match up against each other, the Sylas and the Taliyah match up against each other, and both teams will probably be playing towards the top side. TPs coming up for both side laners of the Gwen and the GP, who just look to use their TPs to join their team when the fights kick off on the top side. But I say that 1 minute on the Dragon. XL would be on sole point at 18 minutes in if Misfits give this up. I think they want to look for a team fight. Spikes coming in here, Riftmaker for the Gwen.
Be pretty big. Keep your eye on the GP ultimate, level 12 for Finn, level 13, obviously the big break point that so many people talk about. That's where the barrel chains really start to become so easy.
So Nukeduck's gonna push out this top wave, I expect, and then move towards mid-bot side. We'll see what Vetheo does about it, see if he can fight him and slow him down. Knockback's gonna miss. Vetheo's gonna focus down the wave, and it's just a big question of, it's 30 seconds until this Dragon, and now they're gonna fight.
Connecting. Vetheo obviously has a huge sustained advantage as long as he has that W up, but if Nukeduck can keep it at arm's length, that's gonna be big slow. Vetheo now going back in, that's a
nice
sustain,
dodge.
but excellent dodge. The Ghost coming in as well, the GP! Oh, it's a dishonorable 1v1, but XL will take it.
Yeah, nice sidestep there by Nukeduck on the chains. Vetheo no flash, so he has to recommit to the fight, otherwise he's gonna get chased down now. It's a very awkward situation here for Misfits because you're losing your top tower, but you also might lose Drake, so it's just a question of, do you take this fight? The answer might be yes.
Willing to take the 4v4. They know Finn has no ultimate. Shlatan waiting off to the side. Marcoon now committing fully for the fight. Irrelevant leaping away. There's no more Hallowed Mist to back him up. A tower destroyed on the top side. Misfits, they've committed so many members.
Mersa.
What can they get back?
Mersa on the side. Vetheo has TP in 7 seconds. XL might just have to bail on this one. Otherwise, they're going to be in a 4v5. Nukeduck's top with no mana.
Shlatan, no smite. Still in the area, however. Still wants to threaten, still wants to posture. Vetheo now coming into the middle of the fight. Keep your eyes on Marcoon because he's burning, he's ticking, he's running. There's no smite in the area anymore. Vetheo with the stolen ultimate pins him into the wall. and takes him out. That is massive now for Misfits. A clean use of the Taliyah ultimate coming in from Vetheo. And Excel, they just have to give this one up. Credit to Misfits. They committed so much to make that happen, but in the end, they make it work.
Little bit greedy there from Excel. Yes, you won the top play, but 2 pressure points on the map is always dangerous when you split up numbers. I think they might have lost track of Vetheo's TP timer there, but great execution by him, having the Taliyah ult and managed to gap close. Now Nuke has flash.
Stepping in, Vetheo is not done yet, keeping his pressure on. Mickey now coming into the area, walking away. Vetheo knows he can't overcommit.
Misfits, mid tower and Dragon.
This is big for Misfits to start to shift things back. It did feel like Excel were finally starting to pull ahead, maybe, but just like that, Excel have started to even things up once again. I want to talk about Vetheo. Everyone wants to talk about Vetheo when you talk about Misfits. It's a natural thing. But the thing that I love about him is not just these stats here, not that he's been a monster in week 3 and 4, is the fact that he totally got 1v1'd topside, and then no fear, TP'd into the fight. Taliyah walled over, took another 1v1 with Nuke right after killing Marcoon, and that kind of confidence, that kind of unshakability, I think is what makes this man such a rock for the Misfits lineup.
And it resonates throughout the team as well. When he's going forwards and he's extremely confident in the plays, the team will back him up. We saw it happen around the Dragon, we saw it happen around the 1v1 around Nuke. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get a bit too over-eager on himself and take fights that he knows he's going to lose, but thinks that he can outplay. You know, going on to Nuke there, I think he can outplay with no flash, makes a mistake and dies. Now Nuke sitting at 2 items, but so is Vetheo. That shut down onto Marcoon, helping him out a little bit. Now it's a Baron setup for both teams. 3 minutes, 30 seconds on the next Dragon. Means both teams want to contest this top side. XL 2 towers. Misfits have 1. XL want to focus down that mid-tier 1, whereas Misfits want to get that top tier 1, but need to defend on both sides. I think this mid-tower might die here for Misfits. Too many numbers for XL.
Yep. And it's easy to see what Misfits want out of these fights. A lot of melee champions who want to get into the back line, find these assassination targets and these resets. XL have a lot of tools to play these fights out. The GP wants people to fight into him. The Taliyah wants to split the team
nice
with the wall. Is Finn getting a lot of damage here. Just looking for the solo Volo wall coming down over the wall. Finn still standing again.
He's out. He's
Is he walking out? He got bailed out there. And Neon goes down. Patrick, he can start to look for the resets. They're starting to walk away. That wall from Nuke was incredible. Man, it feels bad to be Neon in that instant.
2 kills for XL. What can they get from it? It looks like they're hovering towards this Baron. Mickey just cancelled his recall, but he has no wards to put down, and XL with those 2 kills, just going to back off. No vision, can't start up this Baron. They only have Wukong ult to look for turns, and maybe they're not confident enough in that. They have the hostile takeover as well, but TP on Irrelevant soon. Don't want to take any risks. Maybe they're confident that this game is in their hands, and it all comes off the back of Finn just taking a 1v1 with Irrelevant in Misfits' jungle. Irrelevant gets the first barrel, but the second one lands. The third one comes out and lands as well. So Finn's just dishing out so much damage here. He gets the bailout, so he thinks, let's take the 1v1, but Gwen's already dead. So then he thinks to himself, well, I'll flash out here. Neon's stuck in the wall, can't move actually, no matter where he goes. Cleaned up by Patrick. Now another fight off screen here. Nuke fighting against Shlatan. Marcoon fails to dash over the wall. So that'll be the end of that.
Running out. And again, this is a game that's just been about a trade of blows back and forth. Neither side able to walk away without, you know, getting a little blood on their shoes at least. See now, though, is again, XL have a big lead here. Pushing in on the top side, looking to push it even further. 2.5k to their name, Irrelevant. Mitigate a lot of the damage here, but is going to get knocked out of his own circle there. Nuke waiting off to the side. Now going to go golden. Gets himself a little bit of space and a reset, but now Misfits could look to take the fight, could look to turn things back. The bailout is on cooldown. Mersa kicking the fight off, going in. Hostile takeover goes wide. Vetheo taking away the GP ultimate. Can look to throw it down on Nuke if Nuke starts to recall. Misfits playing with fire here, but who's going to get burned?
XL just forced down that top tier 2 and dove Irrelevant. Misfits were a little bit late to respond. Maybe they didn't expect them to be able to just straight up dive them at 22 minutes in. But they pulled it off. XL going to back away now. Mersa hooks in, but then flashes out immediately. Was extremely scared of that hostile takeover. Probably would have died straight after. So XL right now ahead. Misfits only around 3k gold down, 3.5k gold down, but they've been in much worse situations than this. Actually a stable early game for once against one of our quote-unquote top teams. And now they're putting up a fight in this mid-game.
And the line between top teams and bottom teams is, at least in the top 7,
rogue.
Almost non-existent, or rogue, and everybody else when you look at it. And for both of these teams, obviously fighting neck and neck. Winner moves up. 6 wins a big point, especially if Mad Lions potentially lose.
Yeah.
So you move later into the day. So everyone matters when the standings are this incredibly close, and a single week can change so much. Because remember, coming out of week 3, we had a clear top of the table. Coming out of week 4, we knew nothing at all. So coming out of week 5, what is the status of the league going to be?
Surely we'll know something, right?
Eventually.
Eventually, surely. Maybe in week 5, maybe in week 6, but now XL, 20 seconds on this Dragon will put them on soul point. Finn's going to push in mid-wave, and Misfits need to find a way into this Dragon pit. Pink ward's placed down, they need to find vision. Versa might just hook here.
Shlatan, bit of a stun. Marcoon
Oh, Nuke Duck.
getting away. Big damage from Nuke Duck. Again, he's just chipping away slowly but surely. GP ult is down, however, Vetheo fishing for the flank.
Are they going to take this fight? Shlatan extremely low. We'll get a little bit of the honey fruit. I think they're just going to have to give this here. Misfits look for a top grab, get some vision. There you can see the pings from Misfits there on the top tower. They want to try to look for a cross map. We'll see if XL give it to them. But that's sole point now for XL. 29 minutes into the game, we will see an Ocean Soul fight.
And again, big props to a lot of the individual XL members. It's not the flashiest game of League of Legends, but a lot of clean consistency coming out of Nuke Duck, as well as Finn, taking those fights, taking those one-on-ones, confidence in his champion and the kit that he has, making the advantage that much more real. 3K lead, 3 dragons to their name as Marcoon pushes in.
Marcoon pushing in. Might look for a fight here. Vetheo is bot. I thought that Nuke Duck and Finn were going to collapse bot there for a second because there's a Sylas pushing into their tier 1. You have a Taliyah ult up and you could have looked for a collapse, but it looks like they're going towards mid instead. Try to get some pressure, keep the vision up. We'll see if Vetheo, does he win against Finn? I don't think so. Finn looks extremely strong right now on this GP, building towards that collector. He's going to go for the crit GP build. We see Bruiser GPs like Nuguri building it. Bit tankier, a lot more cooldown reduction, but not as much damage output, of course. So Finn will have to be careful. Getting caught out on a hook, could die straight away. Shlatan playing somewhat of a tank Viego build. Needs to get those resets going. So now the question is, can XL get topside vision and start a Baron? Can Misfits stop them?
Good question, as Neon is now going to be in trouble. Wall coming over, feathers are going to fly. The pullback, though, could just be interrupted. And Nuke Duck! This man cannot miss. He has played so clean this entire game.
Max range snipe. Now XL with the numbers advantage. 35 seconds on Neon, going to move towards this Baron. The Crab will help Misfits out a bit. They have a plant as well to get a little bit of vision too. Can they get Shlatan around? Can they get him in range of a steal? Where is Vetheo? GP ult might be what he wants to look for.
Finn ultimate just around the corner for himself. Setting up barrels in the darkness. Potentially an option for the team to pull back. You wanted to see the 1v1. Cadril, here it is. It looks like Vetheo definitely does not win it.
Nuke Duck,
but Nuke Duck just might. Going for blood here. The knockback now coming in. Mickey X waiting over the wall. Nuke Duck just waiting in the back of the pit. Full confidence in his own ability, his own movement. One more sword slash is going to do it. Vetheo goes down. Patrick, keep your eyes on Patrick. Keep your eyes on the S ranking. Can he get it going? Spin, 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 baby. Not nearly enough. Now it's Shlatan's turn to take a chance at it. Shlatan going to finish that job. Misfits using the power of Viego to turn the tides, but not enough to stop one angry pirate. Finn with a double.
But you have to admit, that's a pretty good fight for Misfits. They were looking at losing a Baron, and they were down in gold, they were down in numbers. It was a 4v5 from the get-go, and you managed to trade 4 for 4 in a fight, which you had no business in winning. Nuke Duck going a little bit too deep here, and the second Vetheo gets chunked out so much, and the fact that Neon's dead, it should be a free Baron, but XL a little bit greedy.
Yeah, but you can see again here, the setup. A lot of confidence in these Taliyah walls. Nuke Duck coming in to finish the job. Neon, you can see why he picked the Xayah, the escape, the ultimate, to get out of these sticky situations. But there's so many champions who can jump on you in an instant, it's just not enough. And, well, Finn, that's all I'm going to say about this part.
Mixed calls here. XL could finish Baron, but Nuke Duck flashes over. And the fact that he flashes over is telling his whole team to help him. So Mickey just has to autopilot towards Nuke Duck. He dies. There's a massive brawl on this entrance of the blue buff where Misfits are winning, and it's Finn who's the consistent factor for XL. You can see he eventually rejoins, helps XL clean up. Patrick tries his best to get the spin out, and it's the resets for Shlatan as well that keep the fight going. Eventually it turns into a 1v1, and it's great movement here by Finn to dodge the knockback. Look at his dodge here, dodges the knockback, doesn't get stunned up, finishes the kill. Could have gone disastrously wrong there for XL, but they managed to keep it under control.
Finn really the rock for this team. This game, it feels like 5-0 and 3 the scoreline. 3.5 items now, 1 terrifying GP. And of course, the big thing for Shlatan with this build in particular is you do fine damage, you're kind of tanky, but you're really relying on those resets to have those big damage moments. It's not the same as Viego builds that we've seen in past where his damage comes from his own itemization. He needs to kill Patrick and steal damage from him, or kill Nuke Duck and take his items and his damage.
1 minute left on the clock until that Ocean Soul. Misfits need to find their way in. Shlatan trying to get a bit of vision. Finn pushing in bot, 2 levels up on Irrelevant. Double buffs, 5-0. Probably has a 1,000 gold shutdown on his head as well, building towards that Infinity Edge. And it's Vetheo who we need to keep our eyes on as well. So close to that Rabadons. If he can get that, he'll dish out incredible amounts of damage. Patrick, no sums, will fall quite quickly. So a lot of damage on both sides, just whether they can land it.
All about the setup now. The focus going to be Shlatan waiting in the darkness. They're hoping if they could shut down Finn.
No flash.
We talked about it, the bounty on his head. I think they're ready to commit everything here. Shlatan ulting over the wall, ready to get things going. A ward. They just want to kill Finn. Everybody is here to kill Finn, but Nuke Duck's on the backside looking to get things done. A wall may have stopped him from going in. The pirate is down. Misfits are now ready for a fight.
Fantastic call there by Misfits. He just ults over the wall there. Shlatan pops a ward, gets the TPs in, gets Vetheo involved in the fight, and now they're looking for this dragon, which XL are gonna have to give up. So, very tough situation of finding vision, but they go through one lane, punish an overextension, get 5 members down, and they stop the soul from being taken. All they have to do here is get the mid wave to stop XL from being able to find a tower, and they'll come out very happy with that play.
Rest of XL moving up, posturing around the Baron, at least going to get a little bit of vision, maybe some control on the top side. They want to trade something back, even if ultimately they're the losers in that exchange.
They have Vetheo's GP ult if they need vision. They could just use that on the Baron if they're unsure or scared. It might be timing out soon anyway. But I think they should know that this is not an objective that XL can take. Just push in mid and then just keep the game going. Time is what they need. Level 16 Gwen, level 16 Sylas.
Oh, bad.
Shlatan.
Or one very dead jungler might be enough for XL. They just instantly shift their sights to the Baron. Are they happy with the pick? It looks like they are going to try to get for a little bit more. Marcoon, no ultimate left in the fight to come. Misfits pushing in, but through a choke point nonetheless. Up against Finn with a lot of barrel damage if he can find it.
Deja vu here, 4v5. Misfits up against XL. Will XL make the same mistake and overextend and try to take the fight, or will they look for a finish? No steal, no smite. Mersa's looking for a hook. Vetheo's on the way.
You're going in. Which ult is he going to take? That's what's going to matter the most. Nukeduck waiting off to the side. Ulti available, potentially going to hope to split the team of Misfits. Handshake goes a little bit wide. Mersa in the midst of everybody. That's going to be the hostile takeover. That's hit Neon. Neon getting down. That's going to be one going away. Nukeduck now running, but they managed to take the Baron, and that might be all that matters. Vetheo and the rest of Misfits. What else can they get here? What else can they trade back?
Here,
Nukeduck zooming. No damage to cancel. And away he goes. You'll remember, this is the day you almost caught Nukeduck.
Out he goes. The XL get the Baron. Mickey dies for it. Good combo there by Misfits. Looked like Nukeduck was on the wrong side of the map there and he was going to get chased down, but Misfits not confident enough to just fully commit. Vetheo still looking for a Rabadon's death cap. And it all comes down to that pick onto Shlatan. Face checked in. I was a bit worried here for XL because the Baron was on about 200 HP before a smite even came out. You see here, Mickey gets ulted here, I believe, by the Nautilus. Dies to the RE combo there. And look at the Baron HP. I was a bit worried. 100 HP smite. Better late than never, as they say. Vetheo was very close to getting it, and then great ult out here by Nukeduck. The siege will begin here. Level 17 on the Taliyah. Misfits want to look for a fight to stop the siege, I'd imagine.
And such just a hard team to engage on when they are sieging. You've got the Taliyah range, you've got the GP barrel set up. If you're ever fighting into GP barrels, you're going to have a bad time. A lesson that Misfits have learned a few times this game. But maybe, just maybe, they can find that angle, they can find that engage, see what ultimate Vetheo wants to steal away. He has now completed the death cap.
XL really aware they want to fight here, Misfits. You can see they're just posturing non-stop to try and hex flash over and engage.
You want to keep the pressure up. Again, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So that also crucial soul point comes around. Finn, though, as he overstayed once again. Shlatan waiting on the edge, waiting in the darkness, but looks like just threatening, just to make sure that Neon has a bit of space to work with.
Infinity Edge for Neon is what they need. They need a 4-item spike Xayah. Obviously not playing the poke Xayah, looking for the full on-hit damage. So if he can dish out and get uptime, he will melt through XL, who lack a lot of frontline. Irrelevant in a face tank here.
Wall, hollowed miss buys him a bit more room. Stolen away, hostile takeover. That's not any damage to come from Vetheo, though. Something to keep your eyes on. Hostile takeover will connect. GP ult coming in as well. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Finn just looking to break open the base. Misfits committing a lot of members to the bottom side, hoping, fishing, looking for a fight. But it means in the meantime, Finn is given free reign over the mid lane.
Doesn't look like XL can break into tier 3s, can break into the base. Relevant just used ult here. He's looking for Patrick. He saw the bases come in, but Mickey's going to throw him back. And XL can't crack the base just yet. 40 seconds left on that Baron. Looks like they're going to base and try to set up for this next dragon. Look for their soul point. Rabadon's picked up for Nukeduck. The question is, how far is Neon away from that Infinity Edge? He needs that item before this next Drake, and if he can't get it, then they're going to have to fight anyway.
A lot of pressure. A lot of tension in this game. 6K in favor of XL. Their execution has been up and down thus far. A lot of individual standout moments, but a lot of moments where they get over-aggressive and maybe risk a bit too much. If Misfits can find another one of those, if they can punish, if they can take this next Drake and move themselves up to soul point, maybe they can even the playing field.
You know, just picked up Berserker Greaves, so I think there's going to be no Infinity Edge for him. So no more spikes left for Misfits. Stopwatch is being bought. Anything to buy time, anything to slow down the fight and help them get another set of cooldowns off is what they're looking for here. All elixirs picked up. I think Finn has Elixir of Sorcery there on Gangplank. Gets a little bit extra tower damage. Hook hits Marcoon.
On a Marcoon. If you can force the ultimate out
TP
early before the fight
behind.
kicks off, that's going to be big. And they already have the ultimate down. Irrelevant now in the midst of the entire team trying to survive as long as humanly possible. Remember that he does have a stopwatch. He will go golden, buy himself a brief moment. But no, hostile takeover just doing so much work right into the barrel. The setup that Excel wanted. They are wiping the floor with Misfits in the exchange. All it took was one ult from Mickey X and the barrel to follow from Finn. It just made it so dang easy. Patrick now stepping forward, another wall coming in. Clean route comes in from Neon to buy a bit more space with Marcoon already over the wall. There's just too many members of Excel left standing.
Excel came for the soul, but they're going to take your Nexus. 25 seconds on Shlatan, a big mid-wave double cannons should be enough to end out the game. Misfits had to take that fight. They had to stop them from getting the soul, but it was too little, too late. Vetheo tried coming from behind with Irrelevant, but Excel had the damage, the kite back, and the barrel sealed the deal.
Positive signs for Misfits in the early game, but it was not enough to stop Excel looking back in form here. The LEC.
I think a big win for Excel if you think about it, because Misfits just come off the back of beating teams like Mad Lions, teams like G2, and Excel had a weekend where they were losing to teams, right? Like Astralis and SK and things like this. So momentum back a bit for Excel. Looked in the driver's seat from the early game onwards. Misfits tried their best to find angles, made that pick onto Finn. They looked like there was hope. They were slowing the game down, but not enough time for them to get into the right kind of power spikes to fight back.
And I was skeptical when I saw the GP, but Finn putting on a clinic, doing a ton of work in that game, and I gotta say, Renata looking as strong as ever on the current patch. Again, for Misfits, some positive signs. The early game, a lot better than some of the other early games that we've seen from them. Staying even, staying within touching distance. Wow, Finn going for the lap. Here we go, Caps' dad coming up. Bam, never leave your friends hanging. That's the rule.
Well, you just got left.
They couldn't see it. Doesn't count. They're gonna put it in the rollout.
Can we get a Catch the Cam replay of that?
LEC on Twitter, Finn, Nuke Duck, Patrick. Obviously, excellent game from the side of Excel. Tough to see the Misfits win streak broken. But there it is.
Everyone's got to come back eventually, right? You're always going to get broken. It's just a case of how quickly you can get back up. And we'll see if Misfits can get up tomorrow. As they're going to be facing off against Vitality. So semi-tough match. It's almost fall over.
And I said it. Key player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Finn, Nuke Duck, Patrick. Let us know who you think it should be.
Finn quite consistent. A lot of good barrels. Nuke Duck really good roams.
Nuke Duck feels
Patrick
like
a bit quiet,
two favorites.
But did a couple spins in the fights. Yeah, I'm with you.
He spinned good. He was the best Beyblade of the three, which was what we were talking about.
There
at the
was
start.
3 Beyblades. I think Patrick was the winning Beyblade.
Sure.
Marcoon's Beyblades were a bit whiffed, hitting the side of the stadium a few times.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, you don't always get to decide where the Beyblade goes. Finn, getting ready for an interview now. We'll get to hear from him about the Pirate's life.
Yeah.
What that's like. As,
He's been playing a lot of Pirate. I think, no, this is his second Pirate game.
Second Pirate game. He's a pirate enthusiast.
Pirate enjoyer.
We're not in the Caribbean.
He's a crit pirate enjoyer. We should definitely outline that. He's not a bruiser, pirate enjoyer. He's a crit.
I feel like we're putting a lot of pressure on this interview as we stand here. It says buy time for an interview, though, for those of you curious.
It does.
I don't know if we're buying it so much as like giving it away. I don't know if anyone would pay for this time, but you know, here it is. Yeah, we could buy a stopwatch.
Oh, okay, you got the joke. Okay. I thought I was Donald Walt.
Wow.
Just left me hanging.
We'll see. I think they're ready, though. So despite what the prompter says, I'm going to say Machine, Finn, swap sides. We're not quite ready. We're almost there. This is for the audience at home. For you, it's time for the interview now.
Okay, come in.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Farewell.
Yes, and that's just for you.
Yeah?
That's just you, baby. It's these new earrings. I really like you. You're going to make me shout? It's because we're this far away. Hang on.
I can't hear
How you
anything,
doing,
mate.
Finn?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you.
Good, man. I'm happy to
Cheers.
hear it. I'm going to stand on the magic mark now. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Finn and a great game of League of Legends. So, Finn, I mean, first things first, love the new earrings. I hadn't seen them. It's been a while since we last hung out.
Yeah, I was in America last year when you were here.
Oh my God, look at that. I've accidentally set myself up for a question.
Yeah.
America. I mean, like, this blew my mind when I was learning about it, right? A year abroad. I imagine different work environment, different process. And it wasn't, you know, sunshine and rainbows for you.
Yeah, it surely wasn't. It was actually pretty tough for us in America, but that's why I'm extra happy to be back as well.
Has that kind of, you know, lit a bit of a fire in your belly? Back on EU soil, a bit of a point to prove?
Yeah, I just feel like here when I'm in Europe, I can actually play a lot more comfortably, especially like with this team I have now. I feel really good around the guys, and I feel like every day is really fun, and it just really increases the performance level as well if you're just enjoying what you're doing.
Well, that's for sure. And I wanted to learn a little bit more about all of your other holidays. You guys, you were talking about your team. Over to Korea, spending, between splits, going over there and grinding, you were getting proper scrims, right? You were getting proper scrims against the LPL, LCK.
Yeah, I mean, we were scrimming the best teams in the world, and that just helped us a lot to actually take some things after them, and try to amplify to our own game and try to see what we can do. Everyone was 100% motivated as well when we were in Korea. Like, I feel like everyone just gave 120% every day in scrims, and it really made practice a lot more fun. Does that also build camaraderie, morale, when you kind of see everyone around you working as hard as you are? Does that help you kind of feel like a team unit and build that morale? Yeah, I just think seeing the progress every day is very fulfilling as a player. Like seeing how you get better, you're actually learning a lot of concepts. You're seeing that the team that you were losing to in the beginning, finally you can start taking games off and beating. It feels just really good. It's like the dopamine of solving something or understanding a little bit better as to what's going wrong. And yeah, you can put it like that. Sure. I might just do that. What else did I want to talk to you a little bit about? I mean, I suppose coming into what is essentially this new 4th spot up for debate, and you guys are, very much in that conversation. Is it fun to be able to flip the script? Is it fun to be able to look at, the quote-unquote legacy European submissions to Worlds and realize, this is very much within reach? Yeah, I would prefer to get a little bit higher than 4th spot personally, but the 1st spot is great, honestly. Like, I think everyone got a lot more motivated seeing that everyone wants to go to Worlds and show that Europe actually can perform at a high level. I feel like the last 2 years or so, Europe's performance at Worlds hasn't been the best, but I think everyone is hoping to change it this year. So it sounds like, the team dynamics are at an all-time high. How much does Mickey's presence in the roster and him joining, I know it's easy to point at Mickey arrives, XL out into the playoffs for the first time, but like, is there legs to that? Is he a component of this upswing? I mean, Mickey watches a lot of anime. He's helping us out there. But I think him and Patrick really are like super strong in lane together, and that really helped us find the solid footing, knowing that we have such a strong bot lane every game. It really makes everyone on the top side feel really secure about the game, and knowing that if you have a bad game, there's guys down there that's going to pick it up for you. Well, actually, that sounds dreamy, but you didn't have a bad game. In fact, we want to announce our Kia POG player of the game. It is Finn. So put your hands together. Loving the pirate. Looks good for you, and with the earrings as well. You're just missing the wooden leg. What'd you say? You know what? It was a bad joke. I refuse to repeat it. I refuse. And instead, we are going to throw it back over to that beautiful analyst desk, steered by Sjokz de Portre.
So what did he say?
I think it was a great joke. It's too bad he didn't hear it, because I think it worked, Machine. For Finn, always lovely to hear from him. And pretty dicey one, I want to say, when we look at this game and kind of how comfortable it could have been for XL. And then, of course, you're up against the Misfits, GB. So talk to me through the game plan from both sides, where we talked about how Misfits have trouble in the early game, and where XL usually has fantastically explosive early games. We found them on even keel.
So we found it on even keel, but in terms of like tempo and who is making plays, I still think Jamada's a nice kind of thought process to this game. Kind of went home, and I also think that, yes, you're right, that it did get messy in the mid game as well. I think some of that goes into the fact that Misfits are still actually showing really good signs of life in team fights, finding fights that I don't necessarily thinking they should win, but still come out ahead because of clever flanks.
Isn't that always the case? How are they finding them?
They just keep so close to 20 every time at this stage, man. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was definitely opposite day. I feel like if you turned off nameplates and you asked, okay, who's drafted what team comp, you would have said Misfits had the XL composition. I think you would have said that XL had the Misfits one. It was definitely very strange, I think, to see Misfits, but it was refreshing to see Misfits actually play out an early game, or try to play out an early game proactively, and still taking it to an XL composition, I think, which realistically outscaled them in the late stages. Kind of just goes to show how strong they are.
I was going to say, great point of them that they are willing to take that chance, but you were very, very interested in the bans from Misfits sides, especially.
Well, I also think we don't have the bans here, but the two bans you needed to pay attention to was the Lissandra and the Poppy. That Misfits banned immediately. You and I talked about it in the pre-game as well. These are two champions just straight up shot down the champion pool of Shlatan and the champion pool of Vetheo. And I think you can also see it with the draft you get from Misfits at the same time. When you draft for almost full melee, having to play into Lissandra or Poppy would be disastrous. I think the problem for Misfit with this draft is that they put themselves in such a timer. They had such short range, and they were playing into Taliyah.
Yeah, I think when you look at the compositions one-to-one, I actually don't think the scaling is too bad. I think it's when you start. I think it's when you start to factor in how the comps actually interact with one another, right? I think the fact that Misfits have very limited options of engage, and the fact that they're a short-range composition that has to walk into Gangplank, and just basically everything on XL, it just feels a bit too hard to really overcome.
Yeah, and the class on XL also showed in the way I think they played the map and played those fights. I think it also shown out of Archaea player of the game, Finn. How instrumental was it that Finn really found the spot and his advantage, his agency on Gangplank in the top lane in terms of the game plan of XL?
I think when we see that XL was playing towards bot side and stacking early Drakes, essentially we wouldn't really see Finn take charge. It should look like it's looking right now, but it's not working out for him.
Yeah, I would even say we would argue Misfits should have just been slamming topside to try and shut down Misfits, to be honest. And there was almost an error of that. I feel like they were more focused on trying to shut down Nuke Duck, which is definitely a very valid path to go down, but I just felt like they didn't really get to do that enough, right? Taliyah's always just going to be able to press a rekey, stop everybody from dashing, and eventually Finn just won the matchup individually by himself.
Now, the viewers don't know Jamada as well as I do, so Jamada obviously master tier jungler as well, but also, well, X.
If you had it once, you always have
exactly,
it.
That's what I do. And also Gangplank connoisseur. How do we rate the Finn Gangplank in this game?
Oh, dude, this is a 10 out of 10. I think the fact that Gangplank should have a really okay time into the Gwen. I think the fact that he was being pushed and then still came out ahead on the 1v1 and then just set up so well in some of the later stages as well, like the brush setup by the chickens, excellent winning out on the barrels is really, really hard to do against good players as well. And the fact that he was able to do it back to back to back and set up time and time again.
And that right there, right? I was going to try and move out of the way. 33% damage, right?
That's big.
Of course, you're playing into melee, and it is easier in that regard, but still pulling it off. And the amount of times he crit luckily, insane. Not only is he good, he's also the luckiest player at the same time.
Yeah, crit flank indeed. Let's take a look at the final fight in which he was instrumental again. Top laners are having a day here at the LEC. Of course, the Gnar from Jnx in the first one, but now the Gangplank out of Finn. But just overall, it's never really one player. You see that everything works really well in conjunction with each other, even though XL almost dropped the ball earlier, Jamada.
Yeah, even though XL nearly did, I just think, again, it just came down to a compositional difference, and Misfits, again, to me, just kind of struggle to find key targets, I think is the big thing. When you've got such a short-range composition, I think that you always have to take away the high-value targets very, very quickly on the enemy team comp, and it just felt like they were never really able to shut down Patrick, they were never really able to shut down Finn, and from there, they're just always going to be able to dish out their damage.
And that's always why we say the melee composition is so difficult. Like, to paint the picture is the fact that you have to flank. You can't just front to back like XL can. You need to find these vision pockets you need to go in for. They're difficult to create. But then I also just think from the entire team aspect of this game, Nuke Dog and Finn, you know, completely showed up. Usually I was ready to talk, all right, let's talk about the Makoon Wukong. He's going to be instrumental in fights. That's not how this game turned out. Nuke Dog, incredible under Taliyah. Gangplank as well for Finn. We already talked about it. Great stuff from both of them.
Yeah, we got to say, we've repeated it a lot, but I think we've talked a lot about Makoon in this run of XL. But Nuke Dog, for the time he's been in the league and the kind of impact he's had on this XL run so far in Summer. Also the fact that it seems like Taliyah just fits in that wheelhouse, right? He wants to be able to influence the map. He wants to be able to influence and help his entire team in terms of both when it comes to objectives, both when it comes to those team fights. And there's always going to be picks like that, right?
Yeah, I feel like in every meta, right? Whether it's Galio, Lissandra, whether it's Twisted Fate, there's
he
always
loves them all.
And he loves them all. Who would have thought? But I think especially when you have such talented side laners like Finn, like Patrick, and now Mickey as well, it's very easy for him to just slot in nicely. I think he kind of functions in a very similar manner to how Nisqy does on Mad Lions, actually. I think that's a fairly okay comparison to make.
I think that's a great comparison.
Yeah, where he's just able to very easily set up Makoon, or Makoon is very easily able to bounce off him, and that just makes it simple for Finn and Patrick and Mickey to all play their games.
Yeah, because they also just played the Lissandra. You know, the Taliyah is just a Nuke Dog special, but even Nuke Dog himself has found ways to remain unique, right? We also saw the weird LeBlanc builds to come out from him last spring. We have seen the Viego as well, which is one of these unique champions you can pick into where it slots. I think Nuke Dog is great because he doesn't have to be a star player. I think that really sells him in this roster, the fact that he has players to play around with, that he can make the stars.
Yeah, and I think there the comparison with Nisqy also works. He'll be playing, by the way, in the next game up versus Vitality. But GB, close the book on me for Misfits then. They had a 5-game winning streak, literally, closing it. Very nice. And here they did try something different, and it's kind of what we asked of them at the top of the show as well.
I definitely feel like we did, but I also think that this is like kind of how patch 12.13 hit. You can't just slam the Corki and have the late game aspect now. And I think they tried to make up for the weaknesses by banning the Poppy and the Lissandra. You still had 3 melees, you still had a difficult time playing against it, and they needed to be more proactive. They found a good kill with Vetheo and Shlatan in the early game on Nuke Dog, but they weren't able to replicate it.
Yeah, I feel the fact that they weren't able to push the lead that they actually managed to get in the mid lane further was the bigger issue to me. I think that they actually had a lot of signs of life in the early game, right? I think seeing that from Misfits is crazy when you actually take a look at the numbers in particular. But I think, yeah, more to me is just the composition just started to not be able to play itself into what XL had, unfortunately. I think Misfits, though, it's still a positive showing. It's just not, fortunately, what we wanted to see out of them entirely in terms of just, being able to actually push an early game lead if they were able to get one.
Yeah, they've shown us different things and maybe they bounce back tomorrow, but XL got a win on the board. Our next game is Mad Lions up versus Vitality. We'll be right back with that banger.
Banger.